Hey, and then we are again with another episode of Dance Jams, Symmetry and Asymmetry. That's why we're going to talk about the versatility of dance. Well, maybe one of the versatilities of dance. And I would never discuss these topics without my good friend Ton. Ton, are you there?
Yeah, Sean, I'm
Yeah.
there. Yes,
Today, I want to talk to you about something that you described really well in your book, symmetry and asymmetry in dance.
yes, it's very interesting. It's not only in dance, Sean. It's
Hmm.
also through our whole society,
Nice.
and we when we get born, we raise up in symmetry and asymmetry, and the beauty of it is we don't see it anymore till we speak about and we show it, and then it gets more you get more aware of it, and then it gets interesting. But like 7 years before, I think, I guess, maybe a little bit longer, I didn't also saw it. I saw never symmetric and asymmetric, and even when I was younger, I liked only symmetric, but I didn't understand the element. And now because now I like it much more, the asymmetric, because it gives more tension, and it gives more how you say, it's exciting to see sometimes that it is asymmetric. Not in all cases, but general in dance I would like that more. Yeah. In contemporary, it's one of the dance forms where a lot of asymmetric, and this is what I like. In the ballroom Latin, it's mainly symmetric, and in other dance styles also. When you do hip hop, most of the competition forms of dancing, they dance in a symmetric way, and you can put this on all levels. So we will speak about that also.
Very good.
Not
Well, let's
not
first,
only about movement. Sorry,
yeah,
Sean. Not only about movement, but also
yes, about,
in thinking, in music, in dynamic, in expression, etc.
yeah, well, let's first explore what symmetric and asymmetric is. For some listeners and viewers, I'm sure they're familiar with those terms, but maybe you're not so familiar in the terms, and it's of course terms that is coming from mathematics, right? Geometry, actually, if you think about it,
Yes.
that's where those terms are coming from. So, if things are symmetric, we often think only about forms and shapes that they are that you can divide them in two, and then on two sides it's the same, or mirrored, right? It's still symmetric. That's what it's mostly known from. And if it's not the same or exactly mirrored, then we call that asymmetric. But it goes way further than that, Tom. It's not only in forms and shape of the things that we see in architecture, for instance.
No. In Yeah, mainly it comes from there, from the architect world, and from the painting, in the painting world, design world, in the photography, and these are really important elements. There is an overlap in all these art forms. They use this a lot as a tool, and actually, it's also nice to have it in dancing. But if you not know about it, of course, we spoke in several podcasts about it. If you don't know it, you can also not use it then, or you use it from your
Yeah.
feeling, from your stomach. But if you know the element,
Oh,
you can break patterns in it, because when you do too much everything at all in symmetry, then it gets predictable. And I don't want to say it get boring, because that's
subjective.
this is assuming, but I don't want to assume something. And yes, it's so beautiful to use it in different ways, not only in movement, Sean, or in the architect world, or for pictures, but also when we would be twins, and you and I would born at the same moment, so I'm a few seconds later or earlier. Still, maybe we look the same, not exactly, but we are symmetric then. But in time, we are asymmetric born because we cannot both get at the same time out of it. So actually, it's equal, but not exactly equal. What if the two twins have the same thoughts and they can speak about it, say with their trainer, and the trainer say do this, and they agree, both will say yes. Then you are in a symmetric way. But when one of them is say in the hierarchy more the boss and the other one it's under, then it's a asymmetry. How you say verhouding? What's the verhouding for English, Sean?
Well, depends in what context you want to say it.
Yes, and when we translate it, verhouding.
Well, I don't know what you want to say. So,
Uh,
um, anyhow, so yeah, so symmetric often talks about when things are the same. Yeah. Not sure where Ton was going with this, but he will figure it out and he will tell us what he wants to tell us. Um,
the relationship is not on an equal base. That's what I wanted to say. And if the relationship is not on an equal base, then you have a asymmetric relationship. And this happened a lot in the ballroom world when you dance with two, also probably in the ballet world. And this is what I meant.
okay, okay, all right, yeah. So symmetric and asymmetric. Just let's make sure that we have the definitions clear. Um, is not only in forms and shape, it could even be between human relationships, right? We have
Yes.
symmetrical human relationships. It could be in even the tone of our voice, right? Tom and I can have a
Yes.
symmetrical tone of our voice, but there could be in the tempo of where we speak. And that, of course, also translates very quickly to music. It could be in the use of colors. Forms and shape could be symmetrical, but if Ton is in blue and I'm in red, then we are asymmetrical in the color, right? So in the end, it's all about another layer of variations. And Ton said something important in the beginning. It has all to do with knowledge, right? I spoke to a dance teacher earlier this week, Ton, and he said knowledge in the end drives quality, right? And I would add to that,
Mm.
knowledge in itself, I don't think it drives quality, but
No, I'm also
knowledge
not.
gives insight in the variety that you can have, and you can use that to drive more quality. That's always a little
Mm.
bit more a choice that you make.
Yes, exactly, Sean.
Knowledge by itself, you need knowledge, but by itself doesn't. But knowing the differences between symmetrical and asymmetrical is something that could add to knowledge. For a lot of people, that's new. They think very symmetrical, and it is because our body, let's talk about that. One of the first pages of your book start with that. Is
Yes.
our body is, of course, symmetrical from a left to right side perspective. I'll talk a little bit different later on, where it's not symmetrical.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, correct, Sean. Mostly we see it from the form or from the perspective of the body in dance,
Yeah.
but it's also the thoughts. And that was really beautiful what you said. When we would speak in the same tone, in the same tempo, then the tone would be symmetric. If the tempo would be the same, also symmetric. But um, when my speed is faster or my tempo is faster, then the tone could be the same, but the tempo is then asymmetric. So it goes very far, this symmetric and asymmetric, even on micro level and macro level.
Hmm.
And it is endless, the symmetric and asymmetric. So you, even when you find the smallest dust piece, you find symmetric and asymmetric in that dust. Even when you not can perceive it with your eyes anymore, and the brain cannot calculate, or the eyes, your tool cannot catch the symmetry and asymmetry because it's too small to perceive. Yes, and this happened on many levels, and this is also very, very interesting to go deep into that one.
Yeah, to be truly symmetrical is a theoretical model, because that is probably impossible. But for the visual eyes, you could be, for instance, as a group or as a couple, or as a group of dancers. Doesn't have to be dancers, by the way, per se. But as a group of dancers, you can be symmetrical, consciously be symmetrical. Has a form of quality and beauty, which is of course subjective, what you like or not. But very often we are unconscious asymmetrical, which means we're a little bit off. But to be, Ton, you work a lot with that principle. To be consciously asymmetrical has quality and beauty, or let's say interesting parts too.
Yes, absolutely.
What is beautiful or not, that is up to you to decide. But consciously asymmetrical gives a lot of variety in dancing. Both sides are incredibly interesting to play with.
Yeah. Actually, what we meant with symmetric and asymmetric
Hmm.
is the equal. That's the only word what it connects. Equal. And equal in what? Then in what could be the form? It could be the space where we now standing, the two squares where we can see each other now, um, your emptiness in the background, with by me the books in the background. So that's already asymmetric. But how we sit and how the weight, you could say it's split from left to right, it's a balance. This gives an again a symmetric feeling. But when I have a headphone now, you don't have a headphone. You have plug-ins in your ear. I don't know, in ear headphones. So that's, but the headphone, it's symmetric, but the form of it is asymmetric.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if
the
people,
function, there's
the
a symmet.
function,
Yeah, the function is symmetrical. That's pretty nice, right? Even in the squares that you look at, if you look at the name, the it's almost has a symmetrical feel, but ton is only three letters, yang is four letters. It's both the name, again, function is the same. We put both our names in there. So that is symmetrical, but of course, our names are asymmetrical.
yes, and this is very interesting. Also, our culture. Uh, my mother gives teach me something, but my mother, her mother, teach my mother something, and it goes to generation the same, and we sometimes do not know why it is like that. And it's quite symmetric, like our language. We bring it from generation to generation to generation. But I don't speak Japanese, because then the language would be asymmetric and my language would be Dutch, but the sound of it, it's still symmetric.
Could be still symmetric, yeah.
Could
And
could be,
even
yes.
and even the meaning of the words could be completely symmetric, although you don't understand each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's quite going, it goes quite deep. But in relationship to dance, we hear sounds on different tracks. And when we hear the sound of wind, and my movement would be very fluid and try to, uh, um, how you say, express the wind in a constant movement, then you could say sound and movement are symmetric.
Yeah.
And when the wind would be there, but I go very fast in ticking with my head and my arms and the other body parts also, then my movement gets asymmetric. It would be a choice. And that's the beauty of it from the artist or the performer on that floor, that he could choose. But most people don't choose, they follow what the one said before, the teacher or the trainer, and they follow that up. So then you not create your own things there, but you follow the thoughts. And maybe he think symmetrically, asymmetrically, but he don't use it. But you follow that and you also not know it. So that's what I actually wanted to say from the culture. You understand each other, you do something, but you not know anymore that you work symmetrically or
Asymmetric.
asymmetrically.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and if
totally
you
agree.
get aware of it, you can break the patterns. But if you not be aware of it, how you want to break the pattern
Yeah, or synchronize the pattern,
or
right?
synchronize it? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So could go both ways. Yeah. After our Dutch talk about the same topic, symmetric and asymmetric, I went a little bit more into the dancer you mentioned, Denton, Doris Humphrey,
Yes.
and see that early explorations on symmetric and asymmetric. And it's a very interesting thing that she did. It has all to do with falling and getting up. And what she discovered is even if you go symmetrically fall down all at the same time, to let just two bodies fall exactly in the same way, symmetrical, and stand up in the same way, that was incredibly hard, right? So the falling
Mm,
could be exactly at the same time. So they were in time, they were symmetrical, also in movement, because the falling was a symmetrical movement, right? They both fall. But because it was, let's say, a natural fall, it was really hard to align the bodies exactly in the same way so that they would fall the same and they could stand up the same.
mhm.
And so that's how she started to work, written for the first time, I think, in dance, symmetrical and asymmetrical.
Yeah. Here you have the pictures of our book. Here.
Which book is it? Is that
Um, you
the
can read it, Sean. Wait, the camera where I have it.
oh yeah, I see it here. Yeah, 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 yeah. The art of my of
Making
making
dances.
dances. Yes, 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 yes. Interesting how those early dance theorists start to talk about these things.
Yes. So, and she looked um, at already in the 50s,
Yeah.
1 century ago, 75 years ago. And now, of course, we know more through the World Wide Web because you get a deeper understanding for symmetric, asymmetric. For her, it was or the upper part, or the hands, or the feet,
Yep. Yep.
but they didn't look at from all perspective. But because you can be a part symmetric of the body and the other part is symmetric, so you have always to look to all body parts in relationship how they also um, stand in space and in time, space time. So, and if you not give attention to that one, you will miss
Big
probably
big
you
components.
miss
Yeah.
some body parts. Yes, and if you miss some body parts in the symmetry asymmetric, it's okay that you miss it, but you didn't perceive it. But if you are focused on that one, on
Mm.
only these two words, on all body parts, then you can catch it only in the form. But if you move through space and the form moves through space in a four-dimensional way, then suddenly you will perceive more information if you only look to these two words in all the body parts and in relationship to the other person when you would dance with them.
And in
and
relationship to the space.
to the space. Yeah, exactly, Sean. And this is not what happened in our world, because when we go to a competition, that I assume it. It's not that I have proved it by science,
Hmm.
but judges are mainly concentrate to have it symmetric, but they not call the word symmetric. From their unconscious, they look for balance.
Yeah.
And if they look for balance, left and right equal, and also between the persons, that everything is the same, then it's very geometric, everything in sound, in music, and in movement, and in relationship to the dancers. And they see it as wrong and good. I assume that. But I don't see it as wrong and good. I see it just like one flavor that you put there. And if you have more flavors, it makes it more exciting to use that this variety between these two elements.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. If you see it in probably also in other dance competitions, but of course they start to make rules, and you see, although it's not written in there, but you and I probably can read it right now. These rules are very often based on viewing things in a symmetrical way, right? For
Yes.
instance, timing. They say the main timing you need to see in cha 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 is 2, 3, 4, and 1, right? So is everyone dance 2, 3, 4, and 1? That's a symmetrical way of dancing it. In it, you know a little bit more about music, then there is a little bit more to do than the two, three,
Yes.
four, and 1. And but that's the rule, right? And also the positions on the floor, right? We defined a line of dance. A line of dance goes counterclockwise. So if everyone dances counterclockwise, we dance in a symmetrical direction. If you
Yes.
dare to dance a little bit too long in the opposite direction, which is then asymmetrical, then that would be considered as wrong. See, and that
Hmm.
had nothing to do with the quality of dance, in my opinion.
No,
Not,
not at all.
not at all, right? So that those are these rules. So a lot of people use symmetrical and asymmetrical more as a judgment whether it's right or wrong. Um, where we try to actually show you that symmetrical and asymmetrical are just part of dance and movement. There is actually no judgment over it, whether it's right or wrong. And it's nothing to do with right or wrong, actually. It has maybe a
No.
little bit to do with variety, less or
Yes.
more variety. Um, and so that is a little bit more what I think we should think about. And then what you said, I thought it was so interesting because we have more or less a symmetrical shape right now, a form, Ton and I, and we also in space kind of. But if I would turn my chair already, and I'm now with my left shoulder to the camera, I
Camera.
didn't change my form at all, but we are completely asymmetrical if it comes to the space we are in. So
Yes.
that's how it is. And this is very clear. But what we often see is people try to be symmetrical, but it's a little bit off and are not aware of
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. You kept your head to the mic, but
Yeah.
it's also necessary. Otherwise, the people could
Yes.
not
Yes.
hear
I should
us.
have done it like this.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Very
Yes.
good. Very good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. But once you can see it, uh, uh,
Yeah.
this is also the beauty. It makes it exciting to use it in the asymmetric. What we live sometimes in our culture, in the asymmetric culture. Look to the politics. When I look to the United States, they have two main big, the the
Parties,
conservative and the
Democrats,
republic.
Republican,
Yes,
and the Democrats.
and the Democrats, but they are mainly asymmetric in thought and how they treat the politics. The the but how they treat each other, that's symmetric, because they point fingers, you are bad, and the other one point the finger back, you are bad.
Yeah.
So then it gets again symmetric, because both say you are bad, and
Yeah.
you are your thoughts, it's not okay, so they say the same both to each other to prove that that their
Right.
ideas is the best ideas what not exist actually.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and the
yeah,
fact that they are opposing makes it. You know, I do it with my hands. It is polarized, but it is
yeah,
symmetrical.
yes,
Strange as that is. So it's very interesting just to think about where can you see symmetric and asymmetric. Sometimes you think that it is symmetric and it's actually asymmetric and the other way around. If you really think about it, um, when you go back to our previous discussions, Don, where we introduced the 10 body parts, you know, and to have them, that's already the variety of how you can move these in symmetrical asymmetrical way is already, you know, endless already. We didn't even talk about tempo,
yes, yes, yes,
but
yes.
and because remember
Expression.
expression, you know, the fifth dimension, the consciousness we didn't talk about. But if you think about you, there are only three ways that you can move your body parts. Most body parts can do two or three, right? With 10 body parts, then with two bodies, Ton and me, that alone in a symmetrical and asymmetrical way gives a lot of varieties and a lot of interesting for me, right, which is also a
Mhm.
judgment, a way to move.
Yes, Sean. And actually, we said it also in earlier podcast.
Hmm.
Your being, if you know these two words, your being, what you choose from your inside, from your character, from your DNA, from your knowledge, can make it more exciting. And if you use it, then you become something. But what
Yeah,
it is, we don't know. And the becoming at the end is what it became.
yeah,
But when you not go back and you make not that choice from the options you have, then it's choiceless or you follow just the mainstream to be symmetric. And this is how we grow up. And my parents give it to me, or my environment give it to me, my teachers give it to me, and everything is from the unconscious. And if they would give more freedom to it, to the symmetric and asymmetric, it gives a totally different result. And
yeah. I think
yeah,
there's a weird tension between that, right? So our brains don't are wired to make sense of what we see, and
yeah,
we are wired. We don't know if that is true, but it's a little bit of an assumption. But we are wired to mm, that it's easier for us to understand when things are symmetric. It's
yeah,
easier for, but there's a little assumption behind it because maybe that's a belief that everyone took over, and now it is so, right? So therefore, you see, if we use judgments, which we rather not, but then we judge on the things that
mhm,
we want to understand, and we quicker make sense of symmetrical things in our brain. But it might be because that's the way we trained and have been brought up. But that's how we do it, and that's why people judge rather things in this symmetrical way. Oh, you're on left and you're right, but it's a symmetrical judgment,
yes,
right?
absolutely. And
It's harder for them to do this and then judge this next to it. They
yeah,
they they they've a harder. The brain has a harder time to say, "Ooh, and now I don't know what to choose."
yes, yes, yes. Oh, okay, I will choose one.
Uh,
But
yeah,
actually, you not can judge it. There is no
no,
judgment in
there's
it
no.
because it's there. When I bring it, I hopefully bring it so that you could understand it. Sean and I are human beings, so this is symmetric. But when I would be a girl, still symmetric is the human being, but asymmetric is the gender. And now we are two men, so it's still symmetric because we are two men. But the form and the color what we have, it's asymmetric.
Asymmetric.
Yes, and
Yeah,
but still we have two eyes and two nose. That would be again
symmetric.
symmetric. And it's just the base of it's equal or unequal. And it's not more than that. So we don't have to make it more complicated than it
Exactly.
is.
So there cannot be a judgment over it.
No,
Because it's just a stating the facts. It's equal or equal in the sense of same, and not equal in the sense of high or low, but equal in the sense of same. So there can never be a judgment over it, and that makes it also much more relaxed to look at things. If I look at things without trying to figure out which is better or not, I have a way more open view to look at things and perceive also more, strange as that is, than when I go already and look at things with a preset judgment. Oh, I need to find out which is better and which is
yes.
worst.
And this is what happened. I assuming that, but this is what happened, Sean, in our competition world of dancing. And yes, the beauty is also when you look to the body, we have two arms, two shoulders, two legs. So this is um, symmetric. It's also bilateral. B means two, a lateral, it's the two sides of it.
Yeah,
They are equal. This is why we call it 10 body parts: two arms, two shoulders, two hips, 2 feet. Even when we have 10 fingers, it's still bilateral. It's even 10, it's the same.
yeah,
Of course, we have left and right, but they are mirrored. And and when you zoom in of it, there will be a slight difference between left and right, but you cannot perceive it immediately on the dance floor because it's too much zoomed in. But when you are on a dance floor and one hand is closed and the other one is open, the form is already asymmetric, but it's also the use of the body just of one body part in the unilateral. Uni means one,
one.
one side, then it's automatic is already asymmetric. And to dance in a completely symmetric way, it's impossible. Even when you have 10 persons next to you and you dance equal, when you take a video and you put it in slow motion, you will see, okay, it was unequal in space. It was unequal. Someone had um, the fingers open and the other one had closed. The form is also different. And it happened, but we perceive it on the floor because it goes so fast that we not can perceive it anymore. We cannot, with our eyes, catch it because it goes too fast.
Yeah,
And yes, but we have our ears, and when the music, say the beat, and I take it with my head and move exactly on that beat, my head, then it's symmetric with my head, but not with my shoulders because my shoulders were still. So, and this is nice to watch all these different aspects. Um, it makes it quite complex to look to asymmetric because we are used to see everything in balance.
to see symmetric. Yeah. You could use that also. By the way, let's be also a little bit of dance coaches here, Tom. If you want to score, so
Yes,
to speak, and you train a beginner's couple and you bring them to competitive world and you learn them about these things. And I'm now really talking ballroom language, by the way, just in
mm,
case you're not from that world. But if you talk about the angles we make in relationship to the floor, then it's typically only 45, 90 degrees, and sometimes
correct,
even less. And if you let dancers exactly dance on those lines, they create for this perception clearer pictures symmetrical to the floor lines, which automatically, and I'm not saying that I'm now a proponent of it, but I know this is how the world works. It gives them quicker a higher score in that world, because now I play the same game as the rules are. That's not Tons and my favorite anymore, because we like to kind of a little bit violate those rules just to. But if you want to create success and you play exactly, you symmetrical to the rules that they have, yeah, you score a little bit higher.
Yes, absolutely. And this is what happened, Sean.
It
Also,
does, right?
when I go to one figure, we call it fan
Yep.
position,
Yeah.
and we place the footment and the arm placement exactly on the same beat, then we
Yep.
have arm and foot the same. But when you do this for 1.5 minutes constantly with your partner also, then you catch always the beat with the same body parts, not the same body parts, different body parts in the same timing. Um, yeah, that's completely symmetric. And for me, this in one way you catch only the beat, but you have also the singing, the
Yeah.
violin maybe in it. You have a triangle in it. You have sound effects in it, like a horse or like a, a bee or a fly. Bzzz. So
Mm-hmm.
if you not would catch that, then you miss some sounds and you are already asymmetric, even when you not know it. But if you would catch all of them, all these sounds on the different tracks, this is what people like. People like that you catch the sounds and transform it in movement. But if the partner also doing this constantly, that's nice. But maybe you could make one time a choice from your options what you have, all doing catch the sounds, and one person from maybe 10 goes in slow motion through it. That
Right.
is already catchy for the eyes because it's in the opposite. And that makes it exciting. And
Yeah.
for me,
Well,
it's nice to watch to
I
find
think so
people
too.
who make that
Spice
choices.
makes
Yeah,
it a little bit
spiced.
more like spice in some dishes. So yeah, the variety that you could do, but you first need to see what the variety is. Could make it more interesting at least. I'm working now with a relatively new dancer, um, and started to train her more from what we call the jam perspective, right? Of course,
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
needs to know the basic structure of her choreography. But I stopped after I saw, okay, she has it, right? She has it good enough. And so instead of constantly drilling until she had it exactly the same every time, I immediately started to bring in more varieties. Symmetrical and asymmetrical was one of the things that I brought in there. And in the beginning, she was confused because she used to work with someone else. She needs to know the exactly. You need to look here. You need to look there, right? But at some point in time, she caught on and she saw that she had so many choices to make, and the basic construct of how we dance with each other didn't actually change. We would still go around the floor in a samba. It's not that we suddenly, you know, do something else, but you could see her spirit lifted it so much
Hmm.
because she had more the feeling that she was more empowered to do what she felt at that moment. I didn't even say you always have to feel it like that, you know. And
No.
that's amazing. And then literally 2 3 days ago, we worked with only symmetry and asymmetry, and I asked her just the rest, just concentrate only on those two words, and let's try to be when we side by side as symmetrical as we can be. And now we do the same piece. Can we do the same feeling? But let's try to be asymmetrical. I said, what do you mean? Well, maybe I go a little bit lower than you. It doesn't have to be in 10 variations. Maybe you lift your arms up and I do something else. Maybe I keep moving them and you keep them still. And said, wow, that's a lot of fun. That gives immediately a lot of different feel to it. It's not like you
Yes,
have to.
absolutely.
So it's literally, sometimes it sounds complex what Ton and I to bring over. It doesn't have to be you have to change everything in it. You can just change a little thing in there. Pick the symmetry and asymmetry. Keep maybe the tempo the same, but you do it only
Yes.
form, and it already brightens up everything.
Yes, you know what the fun is, Sean? The beauty of it is you have options and you can choose, but because you are aware of it. But the people who are not aware, also the teachers,
Then you cannot
when
choose.
when you follow your teacher, you constantly symmetric because you do what he say.
So
You are actually
symmetrical.
the slave of his words. But if he would give you options and let yourself choose, then he give the freedom to you
Yeah.
what from the options to choose what you want to be at that moment. And if you're not able to do that because you are not experienced enough, he can maybe in the beginning support you and give you some options in the symmetry or asymmetry in the form what you said, or in the timing, or low and high, etc. That's the beauty of it. I think for myself, and I said also to my students. I was now in Hungary. Actually, I don't like what you must do. I like actually that you can choose from it. So I give them the ability that they can choose, but they didn't take that freedom because they never worked with that one, and they were scared. And when you get scared, um, you want to be safe, and you do that what you did normally,
Yeah.
and or
But
what you did before.
but the
And
yeah.
that's the strange thing, Sean. I was very surprised after they did a very small thing, and I was already very happy that they choose already. But they used through all the years to follow symmetric the teacher, and then actually you cannot create anything anymore because you are just following, and you also not see the options of symmetry and asymmetry.
Yeah, but the fear is clear, Tom. So that the belief is that people it's a fear of making a mistake, and you only have
Yeah.
the fear of making a mistake if you believe that there is one correct way to do it.
Yeah.
Once you lose the fact that there's more than one way, actually there is no correct way to do it at all, right? Once you
Mm.
lose that, you automatically also lose the fear of making mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just thought on one thing, Sean, to our listeners who listen now. If they not understand what we said, then we have a asymmetric understanding.
That is nice. That is
Yeah.
nice. And that's okay
Yes.
too, by the way.
Yeah, it's
That
okay
and
too.
that's okay too. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not an easy, and we bring it back. We're approaching very quickly, almost the end of this. But yeah, I like what you said. The thing is, this forms of symmetric and asymmetric has all to do with the same. So we agree
Yes.
with each other. We have symmetrical opinion, right? We don't agree
Yeah.
with each other. We have an asymmetrical opinion, but as we said in the beginning, both sides has that's relative, of course, beauty. There is no right and wrong in it, at least. Um, and then to use that as a dancer in a creative form, uh, if you use only asymmetrical, you know, for me that would also be not so interesting. uh, but to mix it up in a certain way, specifically Uton work often with a bigger group of dancers, then it's even more challenging
Mhm.
because the forms and the shapes of the bodies are already not symmetrical.
Yeah, correct, Sean. And the most beauty is when you understand it. And I could mention as a teacher, I said, okay, you made that choice, that choice, that choice. So I opened some doors, and then I give them the information, and I let them the freedom to choose what they could do there. I just say, you have more options there, but you choose um, what you did before already and what you did before that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it gets time, for my feeling, to choose that you can break it there. But if you not want it, okay, then
Yeah.
you repeat it there, also. But there must come a time that you say, okay, now I'm able to break it.
Yep. No, definitely, definitely. I earlier I told you that earlier this week we I had lesson from or a workshop with someone pretty high level, very skilled and knowledgeable dance teacher in a certain area. But students that we were working with, they were allowed to ask questions, of course. But the remarkable thing that I saw, Tom, is that a lot of the questions were, you know, what is in your point or your opinion right or wrong? A lot of these questions were in that direction. So that's how we have raised often our students, right?
Yes,
we have
yes,
we
yes.
have to understand that it is more on the side of the teaching as a whole, not the individual teachers that we raise them. Now, of course, this was in a very experienced high level teacher. Luckily, he didn't answer the question in that way, right? He said, he went to where we were. He said, well, if you want to do it according to, you could arguably say this is right or wrong, but let's not do that, right? Everybody is different. Every moment when you choose to do something is different, right? Um, but you see, there is a need for people because we are raised in that way to say, hey, when is it right or wrong? We want to hit for that one point that we believe exists, which is perfection, and it doesn't. And I think that's so also asymmetric and symmetric. When I started to introduce that to my students, he started to do it. Am I doing it now correct? I said, let's not go there. It has nothing to do with correct or not correct. It has to
Hmm.
do, yeah. So it's complicated. It's interesting how that works. Uh,
Yes. Also, our thinking, Sean, it's we live at the surface in a symmetric world,
yeah,
but when you look deep into it, we are asymmetric.
all
I
of
can
us,
I can not think exactly the same like you.
because we
That's
don't
not
know.
possible.
It, it, it,
No,
it might be possible, but we don't know. We would
you
never
don't
know.
know.
We would
Yes,
never know. We would never know. So, yeah, of course, because Tom,
even the breathing is asymmetric. It can be not exactly on the same time
yeah,
because
to,
I can. Yes,
yeah, I want to
y-
say time. That's
yes,
even the scary part. Although you hear us at the same time, it's impossible because time, remember, time and place are always connected. Time and
yes,
space are always connected.
correct.
So it's absolutely impossible. Although for us perceiving the listeners and even you and me, we live in the same time, but in fact we don't. And
Yeah,
that's a mind blowing concept.
yes,
Um,
absolutely. And even we are in a different space, but the room where we are in, it's symmetric.
yeah,
But when you zoom in, all
it's
the things around you, it's again
asymmetric.
asymmetric.
Yeah. So I must say, Ton, when you started to talk to me about this, work with it from different theories already, but the way you constructed it, it is if you understand the principle, it's actually relatively easy to understand. But if you start to work with it, it's complex, it's interesting. Only this one element, you think about what we try to do with gems, is we bring in new elements for you to work with. Is fascinating, and but here it's the same thing. This is a thought that I had earlier this week. Is there some people reject this because it's like they cannot handle more elements because they go further away from now. I definitely don't know what's right and wrong anymore. When
Hmm.
we were
Hmm.
only talking about food placements, I think that was easy, right? It's 1/8 of a turn. Everyone can see
Hmm.
that, But
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
more elements, these elements are already in your dancing. The fact, are you conscious of them or not? That makes it. That's the. It's not that we bring elements that there are not there. They are already there. Space time is already there. The
Yeah.
fifth dimension is already there. Symmetrical,
Yes.
asymmetrical is already there. And then later
Yes.
on we come to geometrical and organic. It's already there.
Mm. Yes.
Um,
I will say something to the fifth dimension because
yes.
we didn't explain it at completely. or with context. The fifth dimension is your thoughts, your conscious, and your body, the both your being. That's your
Indeed.
fifth dimension, and the fifth dimension creates the other four dimension where you are already in the four dimensions. So time, the fourth dimension, and space, the other three dimensions. This is what you create from your being, your fifth dimension. And once you can create that, you come to the tool, the elements, symmetry and asymmetry. And once you can use that in space time, and your fifth dimension can choose that because the teacher or the choreographer or the coach or trainer gives you the freedom, this is the real you and this is the real thing what it is. But if you not can choose and you have only one option, then you limit it and you
Yeah.
can just only follow.
Yeah. So I say if you begin to dance, you know only one option. When you
Yeah,
study more, you get more options. But if you come across people who want to bring you back to you only have one option, which is the right and wrong way, right? That's the one option. Then it's up to you whether you follow that road or not. That's not up to
yeah.
us. Yeah. Tom, that was great.
Mm,
Symmetry and asymmetry. I hope we come back to this fascinating things. Maybe next time we can maybe bring even some examples in where people use that in various way.
yeah,
Specifically, the symmetry and asymmetry, if it comes to music, is a fascinating thing in dancing.
yeah.
But we're running out of time. Uh,
Yes, what I want to say, Sean,
yeah,
we have people, when we speak about, they don't understand us. They think we come from a different planet or from a different place where, but we have in December in Berlin our seminar, and there we will explain it in practical way, and you can practice that. And the one where I was now in Hungary, and the people where you working with, slowly they discover why I never saw this before. And when people does not understand, they think what they think they are so strange. What is this? Yes, that's what I felt in the past and also now. But once that they just discover it, they say to me, "Why I never saw this?
yeah,
Why I never know that?"
they got hungry for it. Yeah. No,
Mhm.
same thing here on all levels. And then nothing to do with a good dancer, bad dancer doesn't exist in my mind anyhow.
Yeah,
So yeah, so December. No matter when you listen to this podcast, by the way, there will always be a December, and Ton and I will always do a December conference.
yes, 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 yes.
At least that's the goal. That's the goal. We
That's
are
the goal, Sean.
symmetrical every year.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Every year we do the December podcast, the
Yeah,
workshop. Yeah, so
yeah,
I will definitely put that in the show notes for this time. Probably you'll see it this year, but if you listen to it next year, then there will also be another December.
yeah,
Great, Tom. That was. It started a little bit, finding our bearings in this topic, but I think fascinating topic if it comes to dance. But that's of
yeah.
course my opinion, to be really honest. But I think it's a fascinating thing.
Yes,
Um,
and try when you are somewhere outside.
yeah,
Look to the buildings, how they build up.
yeah,
Look in your room.
yeah,
Look in the book what is symmetric. Look on the plate when you are eating.
yeah,
Uh, in the bathroom. But when you are in a competition and you look to dancing, look to the person who executed
yeah.
and to this only these two elements. um, you will perceive more than you
More.
did before because you are focused on it and your attention goes to it, and this makes really the difference. Because
It's,
actually if you not practice it and you are not put your focus on these two elements, you will not discover it.
no, you
So
see
you
it.
have also to practice. Yeah.
Yeah, you can, if once you start to practice it, you see it everywhere. Look only at the T-shirt that I'm wearing, right?
Yeah.
It's symmetrical here. It has symmetrical two badges on this side, but this thing here is completely asymmetrical. But it's symmetrical placed in the middle
And
of my. So it is. It has
yes.
always these sides. It always has a symmetrical and asymmetrical. So you think it is symmetrical, yeah. But so that is what
But
it
the
is.
form are asymmetric.
And the form
But
again,
the
yeah,
placement in space is
is
symmetric.
symmetrical.
Yes.
Yeah,
We cannot stop about the subject, Sean.
we
But
cannot.
it's
It's
really
too much
exciting.
fun.
But
It's too much fun.
yes, and people, yeah. And what is the meaning from it? Actually, only to choose you as an artist how
Yeah,
you want to put it in space time
yeah,
from your fifth dimension.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Good closure, Ton.
Yes.
So this was, of course, Jean and Ton, also known, hopefully by now, as the Dance Jams, with
Yes.
another episode of Dance Jams. I'm going to
Yeah.
start the music, and I'll thank you, of course, Ton, for all your wisdom and your experience. And how well we have another episode coming up, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So today we talked about symmetry and asymmetry, the versatility of dance. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, Ton, I say bye bye to you, and I'll mention
Goodbye.
quickly where you can find us. All right, this was Dance Gems. Of course, we can only be always be found on Spotify, Dance Dash Gems, or on Apple, same name. Or we have our own podcast nowadays, same name, Dance Gems slash podcasts. And then we also have a website called gem.dance slash podcast where you can find us. And with that, we say, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Till next time.